Muy buen día, bienvenidas, bienvenidos a este tan esperado evento para nosotros. Hablamos de la presentación de la publicación del Alto número 2 que está relacionado con el tema de arte y discapacidad en las Américas. Es para mí un inmenso gusto, placer, alegría tener aquí a tanta gente querida, gente que nos ha acompañado durante el proceso de elaboración de esta publicación y pues sobre todo a las artistas, a los artistas, curadores, gestores que han estado en este camino con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias. Quiero empezar dando, como se hace con cualquier nueva experiencia que está viniendo al mundo como esta publicación, a quienes nos acompañan en este momento, pero también al personal técnico que nos está ayudando, a quienes están haciendo la interpretación de lengua de señas mexicanas y también de lengua de señas americana, y también a nuestra traductora. Y pues para no robar mucho tiempo, quiero dar el paso a quien nos permitirá entender un poquito más de dónde sale el Alto, qué es el Alto y quiénes han estado involucrados en este proceso. Y para eso quiero invitar a Pablo Rosselló, quien nos estará acompañando en este momento. Él es director de Artes para las Américas del British Council, es originario de Lima, Perú, y ha trabajado los últimos 13 años para el Departamento de Artes del British Council en Londres, en Kiev y en Buenos Aires. En Londres formó parte del equipo de economía creativa del British Council durante más de una
Council group of a creative economy. He developed and implemented a global program to support the creative entrepreneurship in arts and also the public reforms for cultural policies. Before giving you the floor, Pablo, I would like to do something that I've forgotten. Every time we present ourselves, we need to describe ourselves. I am Beatriz. I have somehow short hair. I'm gray-haired, between gray and black. I have blue glasses and blue earrings. Behind me, there are books and a closet. So I now give floor to you, Pablo.
Thank you, Beatriz, and hello, everyone. Welcome to the launch of the second edition of El Alto. We're very excited. I hope you can hear me okay. I am a white male in my early 40s, have no hair. I'm wearing glasses and a big blue jacket because it's very cold here in Buenos Aires, and I'm sitting opposite a bookshelf. So thanks again, Beatriz, and I'm Pablo Rosselló, and I'm currently the regional director for the arts for the British Council in the Americas. I was born in Peru, in Lima. I'm also part British, so I lived in the UK for a while, and I'm now in Buenos Aires, which is where the Americas headquarters for the British Council are located. For those of you who don't know, the British Council is the UK's agency for international cultural relations. We have offices in over 100 countries around the world, and we work forging new connections between the UK and overseas through our programs in education, English, and the arts. In the Americas, we have 12 countries. We operate in 12 countries, from Canada all the way down to Chile. I'm based in Buenos Aires. I work with Saada, El-Akhrass, who will be speaking shortly. She's based in Kingston, Ontario at the moment. And yeah, I'm delighted to be here celebrating the second edition of this project called El Alto, which started 2 years ago. We describe it officially as a review of art, a biannual, review of arts and culture in the Americas. which really means that it's an excuse for us to bring together exciting content from the programs that we've been running in the several strands of work in our portfolio. One of the things that I became very aware very early on as I started this role with the British Council was the fact that there was a lot of interesting, innovative content and useful contacts being developed throughout our work, but all of this was restricted to direct participation in the programs that we run, which is limited, obviously. So it's really it was really a bit of a communications exercise to try and chart and map out those connections, those content, those profiles that we were supporting through our work, and make it available for a bigger audience in the UK and around the world, because we see ourselves as a national organization, but that is also truly global. So that is the origin of El Alto. It was supposed to take place twice a year. So this issue was supposed to come out quite a long time ago, but I think we all know what happened in between 2 years and now. So hopefully we'll be catching up with all the pending issues now that things are slightly improving. El Alto is a Spanish name. It's also a neighborhood in La Paz, which has become La Paz, Bolivia's capital, which has become quite popular recently because of its demographic explosion and its economic development. That's not why we've chosen to use El Alto as a name for our publication. In Spanish, to those English speakers, it means a stop, but also a place of height. So I quite liked the connotations around the name, because it's really an opportunity for us to stop working, look at things from a distance, and take stock of what has been achieved and what networks and collaborations we have supported. The first issue was launched 2 years ago in November 2019. It's an issue devoted to queer arts in the Americas, and it was launched in Belfast at the 6th edition of Outburst, which is our partner festival in queer arts in Northern Ireland. I am going to leave it there. I'm not going to talk about the second issue because we have the editors here with us. That's their role. I just want to thank, well, firstly, Saada El-Akhrass, my colleague, my deputy, for all her hard work. I want to thank Beatriz, again, from DC7, and Sean from Tangled Arts in Toronto. And indeed, all the partners, the participants, our partner in the UK, Unlimited Festival, for all their amazing work these past, it's been almost 10 years since we started work in this field. So thank you to all of them, and congratulations to the editors for an amazing new volume in El Alto. Gracias, thank you, and over to you, Beatriz.
Muchas gracias, Pablo. Y gracias también por...
Thank you, Pablo. And thanks for bringing up the meaning of El Alto, that I think is important for this particular number, especially for those who come from Latin America or from South America. The space where we are, and also being able to locate El Alto as a stop, because that has been an important element for us in terms of art and disability. It's like a stop, a moment to take stock and reflect. So I will now give floor to my colleagues with whom we are going to be sharing the panel. I will read very quickly their names, and I will ask each of you to present yourselves, to tell us where you are, then describe yourselves, and then we will read a small curriculum of yourselves. and then the publication, talk about the publication and who have been involved. So I will now start with my colleague Saada El-Akhrass. Saada, welcome. She is the director of arts of the Americas from the British Council since 2019. She was also an art director for the Office of the British Council in Canada, and since 2014, she has been promoting a cultural dialogue and relationships with UK, with associations with artists and professionals, as well as organization, and participating with common ideas along the challenges of this context. And she has been part of this second issue of El-Alto. Saada, if you would like to please describe yourself and present yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Beatriz, and thank you everyone for being here. It's really exciting to recognize many names of several artists that are part of the publication. I really want to take a moment to thank you all. It's been an honor to read about your work and read again and go through your images. So just to take a moment to thank you. I'm Saada El-Akhrass, and I'm the arts manager for the British Council in the Americas. And I am based in Kingston, as Pablo was saying, in Ontario. And before giving the floor to my colleague Sean, I will first describe myself. I have brown hair and brown eyes, my hair in a ponytail, and behind me, I'm sitting at my desk at the moment, and behind me there are 2 bookshelves and with a plant in it and a small painting as well. I just want to take a moment to also say that although we're kind of gathering today in a virtual online call and platform, just wanted to recognize that it's also important to acknowledge the land where we operate, and specifically where I'm based here in Kingston, in Cataraqui, as I just learned recently. That are and have been the home of indigenous peoples and nations for time immemorial. And specifically where I am at this moment, it's the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples that were here and still are here. Just to say, because we know that this is not necessarily a practice that is familiar to maybe colleagues and audiences that we're maybe talking to at this moment. And so I'd like to encourage you to, if you're interested in learning about the lands that you live on, there's a really incredible resource called nativeland.ca. I can maybe put it in the chat after, which essentially maps all the traditional territories of indigenous peoples across the globe. And of course, the Americas is the map of itself is quite developed. And so if you're interested in contributing to the map itself or just to learn a little bit more about that, I'll put it in the chat. But yeah, that's it for me. I'm gonna pass it to Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, Saada. My name's Sean. I use he or they pronouns. I'm an East Asian, Chinese light-skinned person. I'm someone who's visibly disabled. My back curves, my shoulders are uneven. And if you met me in real life, I'd be quite short. I have black hair that I've let grow out since the pandemic. It used to come as very cropped hair, and now it's gone past my shoulders. And I'm wearing these kind of like steampunk glasses. They're green with like gold rims that float in the frame. I'm wearing a black t-shirt, and I'm in my dining room, which has kind of like some abstract paintings in the back and some books, but otherwise it's kind of a nondescript white room. And like Saada, I'm coming from Turtle Island, specifically the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit, people who continue to work and take care of the land here in what is known as Tekaronto, or colloquially as Toronto. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that just this week, an estimated 751 unmarked graves were recovered at a former Marivel Indian Residential School in Saskatchewan, which adds to, among others, the 215 recovered bodies of Indigenous children in Kamloops a couple of weeks ago. And so it brings the recent findings of children buried in unreported graves to over 1,000. And I really think we in Canada need to do better. A national residential school crisis line has been set up for Indigenous folks experiencing distress, and folks who need access to this can reach out at 1-866-925-4419. It's an emotional and crisis referral service that can be accessed 24 hours. And for non-Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, I really encourage everyone to learn, as Saada was saying, about the traditional territories that you are settled on. And I'm encouraging everyone to wear orange or black in a national day of mourning for what normally would have been celebrated as Canada Day on July 1st, and instead to acknowledge the genocide of Indigenous peoples. And if you can, to donate to the Indian Residential School Survivors Society, which is irSSS.ca. I'm going to put that in the chat if anyone's interested in learning more.
Muchas gracias, Sean.
Just to tell you a little bit about Sean, he's an artist and curator who explores the notion of art from disability and accessibility as an avant-garde, oriented as a critical horizon. He's pointing out to the transformative possibilities of a world that one wish that disability can disrupt. He's part of the program of Tangled Art Disability and member of the board of deaf people and disability people of Canada on the Toronto Art Council. I will now give floor to a colleague and friend, Mariana Tirado Martin. She has developed a deep relationship with color because that's how she can express herself better. She has participated in many workshops, painting workshops in different spaces, both collective and individual, in different museums and cultural centers. She was part of the workshop We Better Make Mistakes in Morelos. She participated on panels in Biblioteca Vasconcelos, in Vasconcelos Library. And she also participates Bodies in Dialogue with feminists and disability artists, and organized by 17 Institute. And she's part of the consultative panel in 17 for a couple of years. So Mariana, welcome.
Menurut aku tiket yang menurut Bueno, dice que ella lo que quería decir es con su pintura.
She says that her way of speaking is through her painting.
A ver. Dice que primero no sabía qué hacer.
She says at first she didn't know what to do with her disability.
¿Y luego qué?
The person beside her is asking her to continue forward.
Dice que encontró los colores blanco y
Says she found the colors white and yellow.
¿Y la paz? Y la paz un día la voy a encontrar.
¿Eso es todo, Mariana? Sí. Ok, muchas gracias.
Yes, thank you, Mariana. We all of us hope to find peace. I will now like to welcome Elian. He was born in Córdoba, Argentina. Elian has formed himself through the contact of others and participating as an active agent on the cultural movements in Argentina. Elian is part of Twists and Bifurcation, political corporalities. His work can be found in more than 30 cities around the world, like Argentina, Australia, Belgium, and Canada, and many others. He coordinated Puente, a public space in 2013 in Córdoba, Argentina. He was chief in MAC in contemporary art during 2018. In 2016, he published Habitat, a book, and he has other publications on art and design and architecture. Elian, welcome. Hello. Thanks, Beatriz, for the introduction. It's interesting to hear my own trajectory on the voice of someone else. I am a person with disability since I was a 3-year-old. Right now, I have reading glasses, and my hair is cut over the eyebrows, and I'm wearing dark clothes. Thank you, Elian. Sorry, were you going to say something else? Oh, that it's a pleasure for me to participate and be in contact with all of you. Thank you, Elian. And finally, a very special person, because she's the curator and also that gives the tone of curation. Amanda Cachia, she's curator and independent critic of Sydney, Australia. Her research is focused on contemporary and modern art. She has also curatorship studies, access to expositions, and how to decolonize the museum and politics of art, focused on visual arts. She's currently working on a couple of books, a biography based on her dissertation called Disability Art Agency, Participation, and the Rendition of the Census by Buke University Press, and the volume Curative Access, Disability Art and Activism and Creative Accommodation with Routledge, that is going to be launched in December 2022. It includes more than 30 collaborators from around the world. Amanda is now working with curatorship studies and history in the Institute of the Arts in California State University in Long Beach and in the California State University of San Marcos. She's also director of CAA for West Coast exhibitions. Welcome, Amanda.
Hello, thank you. I'm very excited and happy to be here with all of you today also and to participate and be a part of the publication. My pronouns are she, her, and I am sitting in my bedroom in my house in Southern California in San Diego, where it's a beautiful day. It's very hot here. So I have a tree in my room and I have some pillows behind me, which is very comfortable. And I'm by a window which has shutters on it behind me. I'm a white woman wearing a blue t-shirt, and I have brown hair, which is tied up on top of my head, and brown eyes, and I'm wearing black framed glasses today. I'm also a person who identifies as disabled. I'm of short stature. I have a rare form of dwarfism. I'm 4'3". So like Sean, when he was introducing himself, if you met me in real life, you would find that I'm very short as well. So thank you for the introduction, Beatriz, and I'm very excited and happy to share my practice, which I think as a curator is very much activist because it's focused on disability arts.
Muchas gracias, Amanda. Quiero indicarles también.
Thanks, Amanda. I would like to say that among us, I hope that most of the collaborators and artists that were invited to participate in this publication, I've seen some renowned or some faces like Diego Lamas, María Carmen Graue, Edgar González, and there are many names that might be lost among the faces here in Zoom, but we will present you individually in a while. But I just wanted to mention that you are here with us. I will now give floor to Saada. I think she already mentioned something about acknowledgement of the land and the ancestors. So Saada, I don't know if you would like to read to this small text that you have there.
I've already.
Okay. Pensé en eso, después pensé, ¿será que quiere hacerlo más formal? Perfecto. Muchas gracias, Saada.
I can start by talking about the publication and where we're at. Like, I don't know, Beatriz, sí. Yeah, if you want.
Perfecto.
Okay. Yes, so what a journey it's been. We've been working together for, is it almost 2 years? Almost 2 years? I don't know. Time is such a weird construct at this point. Because of the implication of the British Council as a cultural relations organization in the Americas, we've been doing and kind of inviting artists with disabilities and organizations to question their accessibility and inclusion models it started in 2014, started in Brazil. And as Pablo, I believe, mentioned at the beginning, like this amount of, this quantity of work and relationships that we've built, it felt like it was a good moment to stop and look back at that work, and also to engage differently the different artists and organizations that we've been working with. And in my previous role as art manager in Canada, this is where I met Sean, who works at Tangled Art and Disability, which is an art gallery. It was previously a festival. It's an art gallery now, but and developed, different practices, looking at relaxed performances, namely, but also art events and festivals as well. And we started to talk about putting this publication together. And Sean, if you want to, I don't know if you want to say a few words about how you, is also wanted to interest you with this kind of envisioning in a way of like how to frame the publication itself.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Saada. Yeah, I think I was really interested when you approached me about being a co-editor among other contributors for this publication. And in particular, I was thinking to my own development as an artist and curator, and as someone who hadn't necessarily received a lot of training in disability arts. It always felt like what I was learning around accessible curation and disability arts and the history of disability arts was really something that I was cobbling together as a piecemeal. And so I thought that this publication could really be a powerful way of connecting different artists and activists from across the Americas. And the through line, I think, of this this publication was really the assertion that Yinka Shonibare made in 2007, in which he really boldly declared disability art to be the last remaining avant-garde art movement. And I think this assertion sort of followed the parallels that he made of the emergence of disability arts, or at least the formal recognition of disability arts, to other vehicles of social change, other movements such as the feminist art movement, Black arts movements, queer arts movements. And I think right now disability arts is in a place of emergence to the mainstream. A lot of folks, I think, are beginning to recognize the power of disability arts to ground ourselves in a commitment to an anti-ableist world, an anti-assimilationist world. And I think in this publication, we really get to understand that there's such a broad and diverse practice in this sort of umbrella of disability arts. We have incredible deaf artists who are, agitating for change and for recognition of their artistry as a linguistic minority. We have mad artists who are changing the conversation around, mental health and themes of, recovery to, instead understanding madness as a different way of being. And I think all of these are complicated by our many identities as crip folks, as, as marginalized, queer, trans, BIPOC. And I think that's really highlighted in the various nexus that exists in the disability arts movements, which is why we don't call it a singular movement. We really highlight that there's multiple movements within disability arts and that we're all coming to it from different places. But I think importantly, what's really being highlighted is the disability leadership and the ways that we agitate towards kind of a more just and equitable future. And so I'm so excited to present this publication together with Beatriz and yourself and all the collaborators, just because I think this publication really is establishing some of the new ways that disabled artists are configuring the social worlds we live in. And it's one that really desires the difference that disability can make and that it can disrupt within our quote unquote normative culture.
Thank you so much, Sean. So beautifully said, as always. It was really such an honor to actually take part of this trajectory, kind of starting with your ideas and perspective, and bringing in the team at 17 as well, and to me personally too, kind of knowing more about the context in Canada, like just the cultural context in Canada, but then kind of bridging that gap and kind of getting to understand the the perception and perspective and vocabulary and just the world, essentially, kind of looking at, well, Mexico because of 17's location, but also your extensive experience and knowledge of Latin America as well, Beatriz. And so I don't want to be like the moderator of this, but I just wanted to also hear from you, because I think it's so important that we we also get to hear your yes, your side of the journey as well. Beatriz.
Muchas gracias, Saada. Sean.
Thank you, Saada and Sean. Well, for me, it has been an amazing experience, an enriching experience, but also a responsibility. When Sean and Saada invited me to participate, and they invited by extension 17 Institute, and they stated a series of questions that we've been thinking about regarding art and disability. And it has been, for me, quite visible, the possibility that it's placed on this publication. It's a collaborative work among organizations, people, disability artists, but also the scholars, the academics. So for me, it's quite interesting how all of these proposals came or started to be connected. Sean and Saada and all of us who represent different spaces, considering that we come from different geographical locations. So I think that this publication, what it tries to do is somehow recover the proposals of artists that, as Sean mentioned, somehow are trying to disrupt in this world of the arts and culture, to fracture and to break this normalcy that has been imposed even within these spaces. And I would dare to say, being a little bit more demanding, that artists that identify themselves as disabled, but who are also related to arts, that they could have the option, that they can have the option of disrupt. They actually should disrupt with their presence. I think that's what they do. So I think that this publication will, I mean, for those who open it, for those who read about it, will open this new perspective. I would like to close my ideas just by saying thank you, and making an invitation and saying thanks to all of those of you who responded to an invitation, because thanks to you, the space of 17 and also the space of Tangled Arts and British Council are opening possibilities to rethink not just new ways of understanding art and culture, but also new ways of being in the world. So I hope also new ways of transforming and understanding ourselves and to where the world is going. So moving forward, as a colleague said, a colleague that has opened our eyes, when you beget a son, in this case, El-Alto #2, we would like to invite those who are listening to us, artists, researchers, scholars, people who are concerned on how to transform the world, to read this publication, to make it their own, to reflect upon the proposals, the concepts that are there, and also to question it, so that we can create new experiences and create a new proposal. So thank you so much, and thank you, Sean and Saada, for opening a new possibility for me.
Thank you, Beatriz, for those words. And yes, it's been a pleasure working with you, and still is. I mean, we've been talking about the publication, and so I think that we have like some drum rolls or something. I would like to share the links with you all. We are happy because this publication this year also is on an online platform. As the first one was a printed publication with also links to a PDF online. This one will have a printed edition, which will come later this summer, but also has a PDF and also has an online platform. And so given that we are now in the world of, beautiful online since a few months, I'm just gonna partake and share my screen. So apologize if I seem not to understand what I'm doing. And I will also share the screen. Share the links in the chat. And so let me actually just do that right now, so people can also check. Oh, there you go. This is what happens. Here. Okay. I'm so sorry, everyone. So this is the link in English, and I can share the link in Spanish as well. It's a direct. And so just to present you with the visuals, where we have Fabiola Zereca's work here at the top, and then we can find all the articles of everyone. I saw Edu in the Zoom. Very nice to finally meet you, in Elian's, and Natalia as well. I saw you around. And just to say, it's been a pleasure to bring all of this together and to get all those different perspectives and seeing this, seeing all of this work and taking a moment as well to explain maybe a little bit how we came to the selection. As we were saying, we were working at the British Council. All my colleagues in those different countries have been engaging with artists and activists in the disability arts disability community for a while. And so we kind of went to them to ask them for recommendations, and then it just started a conversation amongst myself and Sean and Beatriz as well, bringing together kind of a diverse group of artists from practices that were emerging to others not, to outdoor art, to visual art, to storytelling, and just really to have a wide range of work to really kind of try to depict in a way the range of practices that are out there. And it's of course not exhaustive because, maybe next time. But yeah, we're really excited about this, and I hope that you will be excited as well. Sean, I don't know if you want to add something.
Sure, yeah. I'm so excited. The website looks so beautiful. And just as kind of a guide into what the book offers, we were really hoping we wanted to center access in kind of interesting ways. And so we thought that, obviously the publication has its own way of being taken in, but between the online platform and the digital PDF as well, we really want to build access into this website. And as well, we wanted to think about not just conventional access, but we also thought about how it is that the language might shift between movements, between understandings of countries. And so we also included in it a non-exhaustive, of course, glossary of words that folks might encounter. And we had certain videos that were done, and so those lived in the platform. And I think really what we wanted to do was bring in a diverse set of practices and a mix of established and emerging artists, and really help create a picture of what a vibrant field disability arts truly is, and that this is really just a tip of what there is. There's no way we could have been exhaustive. And I think even if the whole El Alto series was dedicated to disability arts, we would never get to highlighting all the incredible artists. And so we really wanted to pull from a mix of practices, and different artists that we were familiar with, that had some involvement with, for instance, the British Council or with our organizations. And I really think that what we came into was this beautiful publication, this really powerful mix of practices. And we really look forward to folks using this as a resource to think more deeply about what it is that we're committing to when we engage in disability arts, and the political histories that we come from when we tap into disability arts as a place of political engagement. I don't know, Beatriz, do you want to add to it too?
Gracias. Ahora que mencionaste
Thank you, Sean. Now that you mentioned language, I think that for us, one of the conversations that we have had throughout the elaboration of this publication is indeed how to give floor, so to speak, to all the translations, because it's a multilingual publication, and there is a big job there, a big space of opportunity, something I have been talking about with Sean. Maybe a next step that we're going to give is reflect with curators, artists, and involved people in terms of disability art, and those who are outside of the disability, about how we're going to name what we do, what we are putting forward. And there have been, being able to name the publication itself. We spent days thinking, how could we translate of disability arts movements that in English is maybe very well known and it could be understood, but in Spanish it's kind of hard. Like, how do you mention it? Do we say art and disability, or art of disability, artists producing from disability? Like, what does this mean? We haven't had any space to reflect upon this. So even the concepts that we have been using so far, and I laughed a lot along with Sean and Saada about being, interpolation, like what we want to do is like an artist that produces from disability, thus he or she identifies as a disabled person, and when they start working on an artistic environment, is to talk to the normalcy that exists on those spaces. So the proposal would be creating a laboratory of interpolation where we can question these concepts. Many of those concepts remained in English and in italics, and we have a big job there on how to bring into another language those concepts. I don't know, Saada, if you want to say something else, or if we move forward to our panelists. Okay, so before giving floor to Amanda, Elian, I would like to mention the artists that have been with us, because I've seen so many faces. Say thanks to Gina Rubio, Victor Hugo, Victor H, Mariana Tirado, Natalia Moreno, Rodriguez, Bubulina from Colombia, from Argentina, Fabiola, Marcos Antonio, from Cuba, also Brazil, the people, the three people who were Pablo Miranda, Amanda Cachia, Elisa Chandler from Canada, artists from other artists from Canada, Vanessa Leon Fletcher, Floyd Morris, Collective No Es Igual, and people from institutions and organizations that have collaborated, Alejandra, Lorena Martinez, and if someone is, I forgot, Shannon Sada might help me, but well, now I want to give floor to Elian. Thank you for being here, and ask you to telling us a little bit about your reflections on your work. I'm going to take on your words. How do we name ourselves? How do we name what we do? This concept that 17 has taken on how to think about an idea, how to update this idea of interpolate, think about a sort of responsibility. I think that we are bringing all this into art and bringing this interpolation as part of art. When we talk about responsibility, we enter into a field of exchanges that might work as a way of calling art. I like the word interpolation because interpolation is not only a word, but it's also a way of standing. It's a way, it's like an expansion, like a rhizomatic concept that doesn't have the need or the demand of receiving an answer. Like interpolation could be just an output movement. So I think it's a very noble and generous way of thinking art, because what we need to problematize here is the language, not just the forms of the language, or thinking about the language as this canon or this normal thing point of view. So interpolation places us in a singular space where the bonds do not come from a two-way communication. I think that art is not necessarily trying to communicate. I think sometimes art is produced by the body, and I disagree. I think that art, just like the world, is like underfooting us in such a way that we end up like sort of vomiting ideas. So I think that there's a new way of thinking. Maybe in the United States, there are ways that populations we are part of are the main engine through which we make art. And I believe that will be thinking art from the point of view of trauma. And for me, art is always political. Everything we do is political. But though I consider that intersectionality has helped us to understand ourselves as subjects intersected with different populations like the trans people, it's part of how we organized our lives around this neoliberal device. So we are, on the other hand, trying to develop this like a power. I know that my ideas might be quite disorganized, but the concept of interpolation is fundamental to think about the language, to think about how we get or to think about art in different terms. Last year, talking with a curator, with a British curator, she was saying something that resonated with me, that disability is like an antenna. And I think the antenna idea is interesting because it goes forward to certain things and it makes a metabolic work, like a device work. The antenna as a receptor device. I think that this system, this domination, this system that tries to normalize certain things, that it's too focused on acceptance and participation in culture and working spaces, I think it has deactivated the strength of our skin as a receptor, as a reception organ. I think it's interesting, this twist, in the sense that if we get to identify the power of our differences in order to move forward, maybe we could propose a new way of resonate, a new way of being part of the society. In the realm of artistry, it's not a problem not just of Latin America or the third world. It's a global problem, a problem of access to work for people with disability. Yesterday, I was talking with this journalist from a journal in Mexico. I was talking about working inclusion, and it's not just for segregated people. Work inclusion is a general problem. There's no job for almost anyone. So the competence, the hierarchies in the world of art, it's a common thing in the world. So maybe identifying our place might help us understand and recognize that there are other groups. This thing of homogeneity, of a total, it's a very conflictive space. However, I think, and taking some ideas from anarchism, thinking about autonomy, like small communities, saying, okay, we're going to be connected with people from Canada, Argentina, Peru, in a single transmission. But at the same time, when we come out of here, unfortunately, the lack of contact, the lack of closeness generates, things. But the problem of creating community on the neighborhoods leads us to a way of solitude. What is going on here is an experience with El-Alto, with other connections that we have been doing for a while, is sort of a small community with very specific interests and with a critical point of view regarding the topic. I mean, it's like trying to make a movement and to take the strength of the other. In this case, the other, like considering the other as the organization. So what El-Alto is proposing is more than just interesting. For me, it's really hard to think like who is close to me, like who is listening to what I say. I am part of the among the people, trans people or people with disability, but if I think about my neighborhood, it's not that I find these people around the corner. So where do I find the spaces to get together? And this proposal of art has to do with this point or this way of standing in the world. I want to give floor. I'm trying to use another word. If you can open, please, Mariana, your microphone. If you can tell us more about your experience. And I have opened here the poem. Every time we ask Mariana to contribute with her work, she always sends us a written piece that ends up to be some sort of poetry that, along with her painting, is quite powerful. So I would like to read very quickly, and the poem goes some sort of like this. My soul speaks in color. For me, painting is happy and sad. It's sad whenever I think of what I cannot do, but happy when by painting I think that there's another better place. Blue is sad, red is joy, and yellow is peace. With colors I speak what I feel. With colors my soul speaks. Welcome, Mariana.
Yo siento que el color para mí va a ser...
For me, I think that color is peace.
En el cielo también.
Also in heaven.
¿Qué más? Así la pintura. Ha sido algo muy difícil.
Painting has been really tough for me.
No sé por qué.
And I don't know why. It's something that I didn't want, so I don't know what happened. What else?
No sé si hay algo más que quieras decir.
¿En qué te cuenta?
Otra vez, dime otra vez.
¿En qué te cuenta?
¿En qué? Tu placer de pintar. Es que es mi placer.
Painting is my pleasure.
Bagi con cada cuento que no te quede.
Hice un cuadro bien bonito.
I made a beautiful painting and I don't know what to do with it.
¿Te gustaría enseñarles los cuadros?
Would you like to show them the paintings that you made?
Dice que les va a enseñar un...
She says that she will show you some paintings that she has behind her. These are paintings. These are her paintings.
Ya se los enseñé. Dice, quiero enseñarles mis cuadros.
I want to show you my
Ya se los
paintings,
enseñé.
so I already show them to you.
¿Qué más?
What else?
Algo que quieras decir acerca de esos cuadros.
Anything you want to say about these paintings?
¿Qué? ¿Cómo? Otra vez dime. Te aceptas con tu pintura. Dice, yo me acepto con mi...
I accept myself with my painting. What else?
¿Ya?
Is that it? Tell them that's it. She said that's it. Thank you, Mariana. I want to present Cristina Marin. She's the mother of Mariana, and she always helps us with this. She helps us as a bridge of communication.
Hola, Cristina.
Hello, Cristina. Thank you so much. And finally, I would like to ask Amanda to share her reflection. There is an article of Amanda that I would like to highlight, especially people who are in charge of curation or curatorship, because curatorship in this disability context is not developed. It's not well developed so far. So this article of Amanda might open big reflection possibilities. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have been working as a curator for 20 years now. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia. And when I was working as a curator 20 years ago and, visiting museums in different countries around the world, I would always question and wonder why there was never disability represented in the museum. And that would be both within the museum workers, the staff, but also within the art itself. Or on the other hand, if I did see representations in the artwork, it was often very negative and not, producing very generative conversations around disability and what disability can offer. And because I identify as a disabled person, I really felt that it was a shame that I was not able to see myself represented in the museum. So after some time working as a curator and also as a gallery director in Canada and in Australia, I decided that I wanted to do my PhD and work on my dissertation that was focused on the intersection of contemporary art and disability studies. And then I also decided to focus my curatorial career 100% on exhibitions of disability art. And that was because I really felt like I just wanted to create a new framework for thinking about disability, not just within the curating world, but also even in the art history world. As an art historian and as an educator, I aim to try when I'm teaching to my students to inform them of how disability has been presented historically in problematic ways, and then ways that we might be able to challenge those representations. So also now I see myself as an activist because I'm often invited by museums around the world to talk to the museum staff and to their publics about how to make their collections more accessible, how to make their museums more accessible to the public, but also to think about curating exhibitions of disability art. So there's multiple ways of thinking about it. And my argument is often, and one of the books that I'm publishing is that if you're thinking about access in the museum, why not think about it through creative means, through creative and highly conceptual, and for me, at least stimulating ways. It's very exciting. And that is kind of similar to the article that has been published in El Alto, is that there is ways of thinking through access and disability that can be applicable to the curator or the educator or the artist. So anyone in the museum, but also the creative workers themselves and the creative producers. I have really enjoyed this work, but I think there are many challenges. There are many barriers still over the years that I've encountered, but I do see that there's some great change in the air. And I think that disability arts is starting to flourish and become more and more accepted, but also understood, and that people are starting to understand its importance. I wanted to point out to all of you that I have a website so that you, if you want, and I'm going to put it in the chat, but you can go to my website, and in fact, it has all of my writing and all of my teaching and all of my curating. So you can go and look at all of my projects and see the type of projects that I've been doing. In the last year, because of the pandemic, many museums have been inviting me to talk to them about what the pandemic has done for disability arts. And I would say there's been positive and negative components to this process. So that, you know, it's the access point has been really great for disabled audiences, that disabled audiences don't have to go physically and be present physically in order to access the arts, which has been really good for the artists that I've spoken with. But on the other hand, some of the artists that I've spoken with also said that you can never really replace the sensorial environment of a museum. So being there in person to be able to smell and you know, understand the space physically can never be replaced. So I think that there is still room for both of those environments. So I hope that we are able to sustain that for disabled audiences, and that also museums continue their online programming for disabled audiences to the greater degree that they've been doing it, because it has really improved and also just increased global audiences that we're now able to be in touch around the world, even more so than we were before. So that's been very exciting. There was an exhibition that I noticed had just been curated by an artist named Alison O'Daniel. And she said that she used as her starting point for curating this show the fact that COVID, one of the symptoms of COVID is the loss of taste and smell. And so she thought that that was an interesting entry point, because we have vision as the primacy of vision is the bias of society. So we don't often consider the other senses that disabled people might be more attuned to. And so if the general public who have been so greatly impacted by COVID are now experiencing these altered senses, maybe they also have a shared understanding of disability than they never previously imagined. So these are just some of the conceptual ways and the physical ways that I'm thinking through you know, the current moment and how it might impact my practice and those of the disabled artists around me. So keep in touch with me. You're welcome to contact me. I am curating another big show in Canada in spring of 2022. And also I might be working with Sean at Tangled, I hope, in the fall of 2022. And I'm also curating a show here in San Diego at San Diego State University. They've invited me to curate a show. So I have so many exhibitions that I'm planning on, and everyone is interested in disability arts. So that gives me a lot of hope. And of course, I'm working on these books. So thank you again for including me in this publication.
Thank you, Amanda. I would now, I think we have 45 minutes for dialogue. As I mentioned previously, many of the collaborators of the publication are here present. So now's the time to open the conversation. So if anyone has questions, we have already been receiving comments on the chat, but if you have questions, comments, you can raise your digital hand. There is an icon on the lower part of your screen that says raise your hand. So if you want to participate. Well, until someone decides to raise their hand, I'm going to read some comments that we've received in YouTube. Andrea Parra, congratulations for this amazing project. Ana Maria, congratulations. I'm very happy to be here to listen to you. Laura Castellanos, congratulations. Diego, congratulations, and a big hug to everyone that participated in this magazine. Please, more information on how to obtain the publication. I don't know, Saada. She's the one who knows best on how to get the publication.
Hello. I'm sorry, I was putting myself in the Spanish one to hear you speak Spanish. Yes, so I know, like, I shared the link for the online platform, and I know there's just like a few little tweaks to do there, mainly to also have access to the PDF version of it. And so I would just like to encourage you, I will copy paste the link here in the chat, just so that you can register. We'll be sending an email for anyone, you know, that don't want to miss it. And otherwise it'll be on the British Council social media, on the 17 social media as well, and all of this just for you Entangled as well to have access to the PDF. As for the printed one, it's been an interesting kind of reflection around making sure that we have something that's printed, because it is important to have something that has a physical aspect and not necessarily kind of in the ethereal world of the internet only. And we will be doing the printing in the summer, and we're still to, of course, all the contributors will get a copy. That's without saying. But in terms of kind of wider distribution, we're still kind of wanting to understand you know, the actual openings of spaces, and then who can hold a certain number of copies. And so to that end, actually, if you're interested in holding copies because of, you know, I don't know, you run an art center, or you have, you know, a space where you could have a couple, just if you can go to the link and register there, and then we can get in touch directly about that. So it's like an answer, non-answer, but I hope I hope it's enough for now. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Saada.
Thank you, Saada. Paulina Peña, she also says how joyful it is to be here together. Someone else sends greetings from Tlaxcala, from Mexico, from a civil association where they work with art and they work art with people with disability. People sending greetings, saying that everything is interesting. Karina saying this is powerful. For Mariana, her interventions are amazing. We learn a lot from them. Great having the possibility of meeting these amazing artists. So, well, there are other people saying that this publication is valuable. Others say that we have many people have a history to tell, so where could we contact them? Other people saying thank you for opening the conversation on this topics. Congratulations and greetings sent by many people. Hazel for Mariana, the expressivity of your paintings are amazing. Your textures and colors, open worlds. Paulina says, Elian says that there's not necessarily there doesn't necessarily need to be an exchange. Thank you for your thoughts. And I think we have a raised hand. Thank you. For me, it's really exciting to recognize and thank the work and the presence of so many people. On that regard, I would like to recognize the work of Pablo Rosselló, the team of Alto, Saada, El-Akhrass, Chali, Amanda, Cachia. Thank you, all of you. Thanks also to the artists. We know many of you and others not so much, but it has been a great privilege being part of this project. That it's amazing. I want to thank the interpreters and the audience, because it's not just any audience. I want to highlight a couple of things that I think are important to reflect upon, because bringing together these three institutions is bringing together three instances that have very deep and historic points of view regarding art and culture. The British Council nourishes itself with the depth of artists with disability in the UK that originally was or started with the situation of with the South African apartheid. This is something that we must not forget, that resonates particularly in Latin America, where there are so many things to work regarding disability socially, and in the location of disability in the cultural context. The gallery and the project of Tangled Arts from the beginning has a systemic relationship with the relationship with disability, art, and culture. And in the case of 17 Institute, the project was inspired by the figure of this blind photographer, and that legacy was enriched with the arrival of Beatriz to 17 and the opening of a sequence that started in 2013, formally under the studies, the critical studies of disability. As an institute, we have a long relationship with many administrations in the field of arts within the British Council, from the institute. And with Tangled Arts and Sean, we feel like old friends, like new old friends. It's maybe the most recent friendship, but I think that we feel as if we have known each other like from forever. So I would like to highlight the importance of bringing together art with the deaf community, and also the communities that are related to disability. This is a term that, along with Beatriz, we try to put this, we are not, like, put this term in italics. In the extension that it has on the, in terms of how it's understood on the Spanish-speaking countries. So all of this will not be possible without the intervention of the British Council. We were given a possibility of intertwining art and disability, the relationship between Spanish and English with the historical legacies that each language brings to the table. So I think it's a strategic and important alliance. I want to celebrate this this coming together. It's weird, well, not weird, it's not usual to have an English-speaking publication taking into consideration the Americas, all the indigenous heritage, all the indigenous legacy, without forgetting, of course, all the indigenous people from Canada. So I think this is a diverse way of opening horizons. I wanted to highlight all these aspects that were made possible by these three institutions, and also the big effort of the editors and all the artists and authors that are involved. So I just wanted to acknowledge the amazing work and the implications of what might happen here from this effort. Thank you so much. Thank you, Benjamin. There are questions. I think that they are maybe for Saada, that it has to do with accessibility of the web page. I don't know if you would like to tell us something about it.
Yes, absolutely. So we're following the web standard around accessibility, and each images have image descriptions as well in Spanish and in English. Whenever there's a video on the pages, it has ASL interpretation or Mexican Sign Language for the Spanish one, and we of course understand that this won't be accessible for everyone. But that was the interesting part of making a publication as such, and making those decisions around access. And there's also English captions and Spanish captions as well on the videos. I will add a specific mention on the website about the accessibility it offers, and of course this is and this will be a work in progress as we go. And so really don't hesitate to let us know if there is anything that isn't working, or everything can be arranged, I'm sure. And so thank you for that question. And I also just wanted to thank you. Thank you, Benjamin, for the very kind words. I think, of course, the British Council as a cultural relations organization can only do its work because of the relationships that we really hold dear, to our work and to our hearts, and also how it really is about the work that each and every one of you are doing on the ground, and how we can together just kind of bring light to it, or amplify it, or yes, essentially just like listening to those to the needs, and what is it that you want to work on together. So I, although yes, the publication in itself is an idea that was brought forward from our side, it really is about highlighting all of your work and practices. And so I just wanted to thank you in return. End of thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Saada. I would like to thank, well, there's many people who has helped us with this publication, but also the translators, Patricia, Oliver, the people who were on the last part of the process. Thanks for the correction. There is a question for Elian on behalf of Ana Garcia that says, well, there are a couple of questions, one for Elian, another for Amanda. For Elian, I was thinking about his comment, a comment of Elian about the difficulties of creating community in immediate environments. So how can we ease these relationships, and how much does he think this is related to access to art, not just in terms of people with disability, but also people on the outskirts and other communities? And the question for Amanda is, I would like to ask her what she thinks about the future of disability in the museums from that pandemic impulse. Like, what do we need to keep this drive that and so that it doesn't get lost on the new normalcy after the pandemic? We will start with Elian. Well, regarding the question you made me, well, I say this from my own experience. I don't think I have the capacity to provide a solution because these are big issues that transcend me. But I think that measuring my strength or the strength would be a way of understanding that many things we are doing now, we will not going to see the end results of many things we are doing now. Sometimes we think about the future, about the posterity. So we're now building something that we might not see. In terms of arts and policy, I think that this is fundamental. So whenever we are thinking about the immediate environment, building a community from scratch could be tough. So intersectionality comes to the scene and try to identify which are the fields or the close places that are that have the same interests or the same experiences. I think it's fundamental that when we do not have another artist close that likes the same things that we like, or maybe if we are trans and we cannot find other people with who are trans or binary people, like trying to understand that this goes beyond our own identity. Like trying to think about our interests, but also our fears. For me, it's also a work upon emotional textures. And that's a way of being generous in order to find intersection with other communities. Last year, we had a conversation that I think was quite interesting, that had to do with, we were closer in terms of political empathy with people with disability than with people who are transsexual. So what I realized from that comment is that somehow the codes, the constructs of a group could not be the best ones. For me, particularly, thinking about moving in a single circle or in a single way of thinking is suffocating for me. In other places like activism or people who have nothing to do with art, I feel more at home. So I think it's a way of generosity and knowing your strength so that you don't get to be all over the place and end up tired. Thank you, Elian. Amanda?
Yes.
Do you want me to read the question again?
No, it's okay. Thank you.
So I am really excited. I feel as though the pandemic, at least from what I'm hearing and seeing, is actually motivated museums to continue to cater towards audiences online. There was an article that I had read in the New York Times several weeks ago that had said that one of the museum workers at the Guggenheim Museum in New York City had said, if there is a silver lining to the pandemic, it's that it's actually, forced us to create online programming, and it's increased our global audience by millions. And so they said that they plan to continue to sustain the online programming for their audiences. And as I mentioned in my talk earlier, that I think the online programming is what makes the programming accessible for disabled people. So I think museums really need to keep that in mind. And if they realize that the online platform is the most accessible for their disabled audiences and everybody else, I hope that is an impetus or a motivation for them to keep up that work. There's still obviously other programming that they can do within the museum to improve for disabled audiences. But for now, it seems as though the online programming is probably the way to go. And this is also what I've been teaching my curatorial studies and museum studies students in the universities, is that they were asking me, how do we curate now with disabled audiences in mind? And I will say to them that they need to be familiar with curating online exhibitions and what that also means. That even though that I think curating exhibitions online never replaces a physical art object, and looking at, the background of Sean's painting in the background, like we can see real objects on people's screens. And I know Saada had a small painting in her office, but that we still have to think of how to access the work through these modalities, and that maybe one is not better or worse, but just different. So these are the ideas that I'm still thinking through as well. But thank you for your question, Anna.
Thank you, Amanda. We have, people saying congratulations. And I don't know if there are more questions, because we have some of the artists. I don't know. I see many of the artists like Alejandrina. We have only we have only exchanged emails, but I see many of the people whose participations you will be able to find on the magazine. Or maybe it's because there are different times. Maybe someone is hungry, or the people are tired. Fabiola, Fabiola Serega, welcome, and then Edu. Fabiola, your mic is muted. Hello. I'm speaking from Venezuela. I am Fabiola Serega. My hair is like a journal between black and white. I have a blue t-shirt with a purple sweater, and my house is a mess because I am trying to get rid of a lot of junk. So I would like to thank this publication, and also to the invitation that I received to be part of the pages of this magazine. That definitely is an amazing experience. I would also like to say that as an artist, it's important that these publications continue to be issued, because people with disability are not seen or tend to not be seen as artists and neither as art consumers. So that's one of the big obstacles that we have to overcome on a daily basis, specifically as an artist. I'm a dancer and a producer. And in the theaters, it's hard to have all the accessibility that's necessary for an artist. For example, artists on wheelchair, I use a wheelchair, to have access to the scenario, because these kind of structures are made with a lot of stairs and with many obstacles. And for certain artists like myself, it's hard to even get into the scenario to make our performances. So I think that it's important to make visible all the circumstances through the magazine, like through magazines like El-Alto. So I'm grateful. So I think this is a start, or maybe a continue on how can we start to change these structures within the theater for artists and people with disability, so that we can also have access. I think it's amazing what Amanda, Beatriz or Amanda, I'm not sure about the name, about curatorship. Amanda, sorry. It's amazing for me what you do. I am looking forward to read your intervention on the magazine. I'm sorry that I keep my camera turned off, but the internet here in Venezuela, it's terrible. So I send you kisses and thank you so much. Oh, we were able to see you. Yes, right now, but throughout the connection, I kept my camera off. Though I don't look as good as usual, but thank you. Edu and then Gina. Hello, I would like to say sorry because I will speak in Portuguese. I am from Brazil. I'm going to speak slow so that you can understand me. I'm really happy to participating in this meeting and also in the publication. As others have said previously, this meeting point is important, especially for artists with disability. It's also important to being able to bring together all these artists with disability. We all know how hard it is to come together. Also to bring together not just physically, but also in terms of our arts. One of the problems is that we are very few. However, well, we thought that we were very few, but the truth is that there's actually a lot of us who are making art and now having the possibility of coming together. I am a professor at a dance school. I am bald. I am wearing glasses, and I have some books behind me. And I think this publication is really important because it brings a perspective of the artists with disability and how, I don't know if you understand Alasia dance, which means agency. It's a way of showing a perspective not related to colonization, that goes against colonization, a perspective of our own disability and how disability interferes with the ways of creation and understanding of our own art, and how they are framed within performativity. So I think that might be an element, and it's a complication that some of the artists face. So, well, thank you for, I'm really happy to being able to participate and to listen and to get to know all the other artists with disability that are here. Thank you, Edu. Gina and then Bubulina. I'm really happy of being here. I am Gina Rubio. I am at my home and in my own room. I have a green background. My hair is like a mushroom. And I make oral storytelling. And I feel really happy to have this publication. I think it's the second issue, but I'm happy that it exists, where the work of so many talented people is shown, especially people with disability, and that this work of people with disability can be shown and scattered around the world. I am really happy to be able to know people from different parts of the world. I'm in Querétaro, in Mexico. And I feel really alone. I do not have a close community. And sometimes I feel like in an island and fighting alone. But with this community, I feel a little bit less alone. So I am happy. Also, I'm happy that this work of people with disability can be known. And also all the implications, all the people that are involved in creating this magazine makes me value even more this efforts. Sometimes it's easy just to open a magazine and check it, but knowing what's behind it, knowing that there's so many people from all around the world are involved, and especially knowing that these are creations by people with disability, and knowing all the elements that are involved, like getting maybe into the scenario, seems like the last part of the process. But in my case, I have a motor disability. I have problems with my nervous system. So I have the support of my daughters that are part of my working team. And this involves many tasks that I cannot conduct. So before presenting myself before an audience, there's a lot of work behind, and it's a work that's invisible, but that's quite important. So thank you so much for the publication, and let us hope that these publications can continue in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Beatriz. I wanted to take this space to open these scenarios that are so tough, that are so hard to build, and that make visible a collective that historically has remained invisible, especially in terms of arts. There is something that I have always questioned, which is entering the arts or dancing, and it has to do with arts and its idea of what is normal. So to strengthen the idea that arts, there are only normative bodies, and when people with disability enter these scenarios or these contexts, there are situations, there are really tough situations that occur. On one hand is the dismissal to our work. Sometimes it's seen as not valuable, as unimportant, and as unnecessary to a cultural fabric. And it's seen as unnecessary as a way of build another world. So the possibility of being here, of self-identifying as an artivist, because that's how I think of myself, these are acts that of resistance. Opening spaces like this will allow us to understand us better and maybe support others that come behind us, to open the paths for them. And I believe that in the case of disability, this route is more complex because of accessibility issues. But also being the fact that we have to break stereotypes, the fact of breaking stigma around disability. So I think it's valuable to have these scenarios, not just thanking them, but we need to foster, we need to and strengthen them so that more artists with disability can have access to them. Thank you, Beatriz. I am Bubulina. I have brown skin. I have a t-shirt with flowers, and my background is a wooden wall. And right now, I'm in my room. I'm a woman with a physical disability. And thank you so much. Thank you, Paulina. Thanks for sharing part of your work. And to each of the artists that are here, Diego Lamas, Alejandrina. Alejandrina has a work that I would like to, maybe Alejandrina, you could tell us, because this art has to do with the organizations, with the institutions that work in art. We're very close to the end, but Alejandrina? Hello. It's a pleasure being here. I am Argentinian. I think the proposal is highly interesting. And to understand also the role of the institutions in Chile and Peru, and what we see, and fundamentally in Chile and Peru, that the conversation comes from the civil society, from the private sector. The public sector has been primarily absent. The policies for people with disability are basically absent. And the only conversation around disability is, with having access or physical access. In Argentina, for a couple of years now, they've been working with both the private sector and the public sector, but there's still a lot to do. What we need basically is a continuity with the public policies, so that not only private sector is involved. We also we need funding, we need people who can get involved, so that we can install this conversation in the public agenda but in a continuous way, so that the conversation doesn't stop every time an administration changes. Because all of this is part of the cultural activity. Also not having accessible resources, maybe for someone who has a visual disability. So there's a big legal framework that is in a gray zone. There's a lot of things we have to do, and also a lot that we need to demand. so that the public, so that the governments or whoever is in charge can take responsibility. In Argentina, we have a phrase, it's like a cultural thing, so that it can be available for all the public. And the problem is that right now, things are not available for all the public, for all the audiences, just for a small sector. The problem is that sometimes the government doesn't even has enough budget to consider or to start a conversation around accessibility. So this is a double complication, not just as a person, but also as an artist with disability. So I was thinking about the talks well, not the talks, all the interventions. It's great to have the possibility of coming together and to create a community, even at the distance. And I wish I could, I want to do something in my university, and I wish I could come in contact with some of you, because in Argentina, there's not too much knowledge of what it's done in, I don't know, in Canada or in Mexico. We are kind of not so, we're not so a cohesive group, but well, thanks for all your work. Thank Alejandrina, and yeah, let's keep in touch. We have to close, not without asking Saada to help us close. I also would like to say that Saada is about to start a new moment in her life, and thanking her because this project, I don't know if this is sort of a closure of a stage, but it's important to finish with this project of El Alto. Also saying thank you to our interpreters before Saada or Sean take the word, to our ASL and LSM interpreters, and also to all the technical team that has been with us, especially Teani and Guillermo, who have been in charge and have made all of these meetings possible. So Saada, I give you the floor. Ready to close. Oh, wait. Saada and I, we made the agenda, and Saada wrote in the end a couple of minutes to cry. So I think it's now's your time, Saada.
I was gonna say, why? No, I'm not gonna cry, because I have already cried all the tears that I had to cry yesterday. No, just to really, thanking all the contributors to the publication, but also to thank you all for the collaborative process that was making a publication, and this publication specifically. I've learned tremendously, and I have to say that all around I've been feeling very supported. Beatriz and Sean were like a trio. Very much looking forward to seeing you in person and to giving you a big hug. It's kind of interesting because you'd think that you would be it's a stressful moment to put together a publication, but it was always done with joy and laughter and appreciation for everyone's work, and truly both of your teams and also my colleagues at the British Council that have kind of jumped in and supported. I can't be thankful enough. Everyone has been so voluntary and kind of very generous with their time and their dedication to making this work happen. And I do think that it's just telling of all the beautiful people that surround us. So it's thank you so much. Sean, it's your turn to cry.
Yeah, like you, I think I've cried it all out. But this has just been so special and such an incredible journey Beatriz and everyone from 17, thank you. And Saada, everyone from British Council, thank you. And to all the contributors. I can't wait for everyone to read this publication, and I hope it really creates a sense of community, a sense of gravity, a sense of kind of the robust, vibrant communities that exist, and that we're not doing this work in isolation, that so many people are doing so many incredible things. And I hope this has made connections that we otherwise wouldn't have had. So yeah, Beatriz, I'll hand it back to you to say the last word.
Muchísimas gracias, Sean y Saada.
Thank you so much, Sean and Saada. It has been a privilege working with you. So we have proposals that and also the wish that you can come over to Mexico, Saada and Sean, so that we can make the presentation here in Mexico with tequila and mezcal. And also thanking Pablo for being here. There's a lot of people in the British Council and also in Tangled Arts that were here with us making this, this work that is not public. And in 17, the editorial group, Rodrigo, Salomé, and the team, Mayerly, Guillermo, Ilse, who's making the interpretation, also the interpretation in ASL and LSM, the artists and collaborators of the magazine, and Benjamin for allowing us to enter this project. Thank you so much. So we are here ready, as we say in Mexico, any idea that can come to your mind, any idea about interpolation, we are open. Sean and Saada. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon. And we'll send you, as Saada said, if you send us, we shared some links so that you can register, so you can sign in and get the publications so that you can be in touch with the people of the publication. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.